then, so for this show, we're going to be talking playoffs. In particular, our first ever playoff series win back in 2017, when your Barracuda won the Pacific Division Semifinal matchup against the Stockton Heat. Who, of course, now are in Calgary and known as the Calgary Wranglers. Yeah, but this was a very, very... I don't want to use the word hotly contested, because that'd be just a terrible pun. I know, I didn't want to go there, Frenzy. I didn't want to go there. But this was a really, really tight, well-fought battle. Despite the fact, obviously, the Barracuda were the division champions for that year, Stockton got the last spot in the division for the playoffs. You'd think it should be a bit more a fairly easy matchup. Yeah, there you go. But in the end, it wasn't, because these two sides were pretty much hotly contested rivals back in the day. One of the things I miss about Stockton is we no longer have got that go-to intense division rivalry. Because it's hard with the SoCal teams, because obviously they are in the southern of California and we are in the north of California. Tucson, well, they try to make things bloody and ugly. Yeah, but oh my. But obviously they're in a different state to us. And then, well, the horses watch is not existent, isn't it? No. And then we've got the Abbey Canucks, who are just there. And I can't pronounce their name after, what, nearly 4 or 5 years now? It always gets me so tongue-tied, friends. I always trip up saying I have to now to the Abbey Canucks. I know it's bad of me, but perhaps I was going to have to work. If I'm Urban Thursday, you come to see me, I'll try and learn your name, but now it's just for the Abbey Canucks. Now, playoffs for the Barracuda have not been as successful as they have been for the Sharks. I know, I hate to say it, Frenzy, I hate to admit it, but they haven't. I mean, we haven't really had that much success. I mean, 2017 was our best run. We made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, but ultimately fell short to the Grand Rapids Griffins, who did then go on to win the Carl Cup that year. But the rest, and you can see it on the screen, Frenzy, the rest of our playoff runs have all sort of ended in the Division Semifinals. So in 2016, lost to Ontario in 4 games. In 2018, we lost to 2 softball teams in 4 games. And then in 2019, we lost to San Diego in 4 games. And then in 2021, yes, it was a division it was a division playoff, rather than a playoffs. But despite being division playoffs, we ended up losing it in the first round, 2-0 to the Horses. But yeah, so the Barracuda have not since 2017 managed to get past the first round, which is the division semi-finals. Now, yes, of course, obviously there is now a preliminary round that happens before that, which chances are we most likely will have to go to if we do get into the playoffs this year. Because the only way you can get that by the Pacific Division is if you win the division championship. That's the only buy on offer to the Pacific Division, where the other teams are allowed at least 2 or 3 in their divisions to get buys. Yeah, so 2017 was the only time the Barracuda managed to get past the first round, and Stockton not very easy. It went the full 5 games. Okay, if you're using the American Hockey League, I'll really very quickly how the Carl Cup work. The first 2 rounds, so the Division Semi-Finals and the Division Finals, are best of 5s. The Conference Final is a best of 7, and the 2 winners of that go to the Carl Cup Finals, which of course is also a best of 7. So that's how it works. So there you go. But this series, it was ugly. It was really, really, it's a really intense matchup. In fact, should we try and see if we can find the records? We can go through like a full series recap of the scoreline just to show you how it went. Because both sides were just so intense in this series. It was an incredible series to watch. Although was very, very stressful. In fact, should we see if we can find the record? What's that there? So just bear with us 2 seconds. I want to see if I can try and find the results. Otherwise, it could be a really short show. I don't know why do they not up it? Why do we not find a record of this? Yeah, just a... Oh. That is... That's going to be fine. I'd love to try and find, you know, the recaps for all 5 games to try and help me out a bit. But I don't think we are gonna get that. I mean, this was about 8 years ago now, but seriously, we thought they would have maybe had a record. They would have kept somewhere. I mean, Barracuda did take game 1 very convincingly. Let me see if I can do it by... Let's see if we can do it this way. It's just bringing up random game recaps. Was this correct? No, because that only goes into the regular season. Right, lovely. Do I really want to keep trying to flog a dead horse here? Hold on. Because this is just getting ridiculous now. You can't. All playoff results, is that it? Is this going to be it? Oh, this is... Ooh. This might be it, Frenzy. Hold on. Yes! Or no. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, here we are. Series G. So we zoom in a little bit. Finally, we've got one now. Finally. I just need to zoom in a bit, frenzy. Right, there we go. Right. We want to try and find a full recap of the results so we can go through them bit by bit by bit. There we go. Right. So, yeah. So as soon as we go on the 21st of April 2017 with Game 1, and the Barracuda took that convincingly for nothing. Now, what's interesting about this series is nobody managed to win the key game. It was literally a back and forth. So it was kind of like the Sharks' 2016 second round match against Nashville, where literally home ice proved to be the factor. As the Barracuda did not first in this series, then it would have been Stockton's way. So, Barracuda take game 1, which is mentioned 4-0. Then, on the 23rd of April, Stockton edges it out 6-4. Then, on the 28th of April, the Barracuda then retake the series advantage 5-3. But they failed to win the crucial key game that would have sealed the deal on the 3rd of April, when they lost 5-3 at Stockton. So that forces us to go back to what was at the time SAP Centre. On May 2nd, the only game that went at overtime, and the Barracuda took it 2-1. What was interesting, you can see here, friends, for the results. Only one of those games was decisive, and that, of course, was our Game 1 victory. The rest were all decided by 2 or 1 of goals. So games 2, 3, and 4, all decided by 2 goal difference there. Game 5 decided in overtime. So you could see that the depth was there for both sides. Both sides had incredible depth. Both sides had netmind that really kept them in the games. As I said, nobody really ran away with at all in these games. I mean, you look back and think, how do we manage to get that convincing in the first game when the rest of it just was a complete tie? But no, we did really, really well. Really impressive in that first game. Showed really dominant. Minus this division, why we are your champions for that season. But the rest of it was quite a tough battle. It was a real for Stockton to go away, because these games I remember in the regular season, always when Stockton was in this league, these games would always be just really, really heavily competitive and would be ferocious. This was a rivalry. This was a fierce rivalry. The fact that these two were literally the only North counties in the league, because like I say, at the time of the 2015-16 season, other than Stockton were the two North counties. Bakersfield, Ontario, San Diego was SoCal. So we only had one at the time. We only had one North Cal neighbour, and it was Stockton. So these games against Stockton would always be heavily competitive. And like Tucson, the penalty minutes would just rack up and up and up and up. These two sides literally hated one another. Literally hated one another. So the fact that you're going to have these two sides in a playoff series, you just knew that blood was going to spill. You just knew. And you knew it was going to be a thrilling series. You could tell that neither side was going to have real dominance in it. And it was always going to come down to who had the better depth, who had the better scoring, and who had the better netminder for these games. And at the end of the day, it was Barracuda. It was a really impressive there. But actually, if you compare it to the rest of that run, which I'll bring back up, frenzy, in 2017, if you beat that first round matchup, really, if it was anybody else, it probably would have had that more done concisely. I mean, you think division champions, you shouldn't really have to have been taken to a do or die decider. You really shouldn't. You should be wanting to get these matchups locked in. But that's the way the cookie crumbled, I'm afraid. So if you look at the rest of the playoff run, we did manage to have a concisive series victory in the Division Finals against San Diego. There you go. Can we just check that figure's right? It's San Diego. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5. Oh, that was went to the best of all the distance. Wow. So the Barracuda were really not good at looking in the playoffs. Despite getting those 2 series wins, the fact they both had to go the distance. Maybe it showed the troubles were there when we faced the Grand Rapids in the conference finals. Yeah, I don't admit that, but yeah, what can I say? Yeah. So it was really good though to get that playoff series win though, because we struggled the prior year against Ontario, and you always want to make you always want to have that playoff win experience, especially you haven't had it yet. But I think the Barracuda did really well in this series, despite it went all the way to 5. They really were able to rebound quickly. I mean, it's not easy when you lose the playoff games and it's in a very short series like a best of 5. It's not that easy to then try and pick yourself back up at the next day. It's very easy to get yourself in a 2-0 hole very early on. The fact that in that series against Stockton they were able to then come back and respond immediately, so when they lost game 2 and then 4, they're able to then respond back brilliantly. I mean, look at game 3, which was at Stockton, and had to come away with the win in Stockton. It's brilliant. I mean, normally when you go to the opposing team's bar, you can't. At the worst case scenario, you will have that split, and get at least one on the road to give you that little confidence boost. And given how when the series shifted to Stockton, it was tied at 1-1. If Stockton got that game, it would make things very different. Maybe the temperature might have changed a bit. It might have been the pressure would then maybe be on us rather than it been on Stockton. Top one. And what was interesting how the turnaround. You look at it. I mean, 48 hours between games 1 and 2, 48 hours between games 3 and 4, and then game 5. So it's crazy, isn't it, to think that how back in those days these playoff games would come at you thick and fast. You did not get that much rest time. I always remember that was the case also in the Division Finals and the conference finals as well. The turnarounds, they were not that kind compared to what you normally see in the Stanley Cup. Just brutal. Okay, yeah, obviously these two in North Cal, they're probably not too far from each other, but still, the respites are really key. It's very key to get those respites when you can. And yeah, so this was a grueling playoff year in terms of the turnarounds and the time off between games. Especially looking compared to the second series they faced, which was against San Diego. Just to find that. There it is. So there. In fact, you look at it in the Division Finals. The first 2 games were back to back. And the last games were back to back. I know that is unheard of. That is unheard of. But that's how grueling the AHL used to be. I mean, poor Francis. We'll give him a moment. Yeah. But that's how grueling the AHL used to be. The AHL used to be a very grueling type of schedule, and you did in the rest of the have like 3-day weeks from time to time. The AHL is less grueling than it is now in terms of the schedule. There's not really any sort of games like that anymore. It's more like a typical AHL schedule. But I remember my early days of joining the Barracuda, because I've been with this team since 1. I remember those early seasons, and some of those schedules were like, oh my god. And yet, these are kids. These are supposed to be the future players we're going to see in the NHL one day. You're putting them through this type of grueling schedule now? Dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. But yeah. So the Division Finals was a lot more tougher than the Division Finals because Division Finals was low. There was no rest for the wicked. You had the first games 1 2 were back to backs. Now, don't give me the whole they were in your bar. That's not wrong though. Because you look at it, we dropped game 1 in that Division Finals. We dropped game 1. So yeah, so there you go. So don't give me that. But and then you have games 4 and 5 back to backs as well. That is just dreadful. What was it like in the conference like? Remember, friendly? Or should I bring it up? Bring it up. Yeah, just for the look at that. Oh, again! Again, the first 2, the last of the series, but back to backs. Grueling. The only game in that series we won against Barracuda was game 2, which tied it at 1-1, and unfortunately we just couldn't find a way back. The rest of it was a really the Grand Rapids were in that season. The Grand Rapids were a really, really tough team in that season, and I think I remember at the time saying, well, they're probably gonna win. They're probably gonna win the Calder Cup. I mean, remember myself who they faced in the Calder Cup finals. It was the Syracuse Crunch they faced in the finals, and I just thought, yeah, I think the Grand Rapids have got this. They did. They won it in 6 games. They won the first 2 in that championship series. Then Syracuse got the next 2, and then Syracuse then got game 3, but then the Griffins got game 4, and then Syracuse forced game 6, and then it was won by the Griffins in game 6. So there you go. Yeah. But it's crazy to look back on. I remember how back in those days, the playoffs were grueling. The scheduling was grueling. You did get back. Look, Frenzy still has been out. You got back to backs, which I think these days just sounds completely ridiculous. Although I think maybe the Stanley Cup, I'd like to see some back to backs, because the fact that just now goes on until probably the beginning of July is just completely stupid. Let's face it, there were back-to-backs between Florida and Edmonton last year. We all could have gone home a lot quicker. Especially since Cerberus had a very important draft pick to make. So, yeah, but it just feels weird, because I do remember back in those early days of the Bold NHL, it was a grueling league to watch, because the way the schedules in the regular season and the playoffs worked, it just was not right. And yet, here we are now, and it's like it's now more fairer, it's more lenient, and it's less heavy than it was kind of back in those early days. Yeah. But that playoff series we had against Stockton was extremely, extremely tense. It was enticing, and it was so competitive, and neither side managed to get a strong point in that either way. And I think you have to look at the fact and go, if we had not had home ice advantage, then probably we might have been on the golf course, and we still would probably be to this day waiting for that first ever playoff series win. And yeah, because 2017 is the only time when the Barracuda managed to get out of the first round. They have not managed to find the playoff success that the Sharks have had over the many, many years. So you do have to wonder, if we were to get playoffs this year, how far could the Barracuda go? Because chances are we're most likely going to have to play the preliminary round. And if we get out of that, that's in the first round, and then that'd be interesting. Yeah, there you go. Very interesting indeed. Yeah, it was a really, but I remember that it was a really intense playoff series. Stockton really brought it to us, but at the end of the day, the Barracuda were able to come out and pull away with the win in their first playoff series win. And speaking of playoffs, our next show and the final one of the ice block. Yeah, that sounds a bit weird. That does not. I did not plan that word. In the next episode, we're going to be sticking on playoffs, but we're going to be focusing on a different kind of playoffs, and that, of course, is the 2021 playoff tournament that the Division held to determine its champion. But we're going to focus on the preliminary that took place to determine who was going to get the last spot in the playoffs. We have a lot of feelings about how that was done and decided. But we're going to talk about it in the next show. So that's going to be in the next show. We're going to talk about that preliminary round that happened in 2021, which Barracuda did win quite easily, actually. That's next time. But for now, until then, all 7 seconds, so we'll leave you now.